Hello gamers and welcome to everybody's favorite type of content, react content, in which we watch Wargaming's wonderfully designed video on how to spot. Let's see if this is actually going to be able to learn us anything. I am very curious for this. They have some funny videos usually. Anyways, I haven't watched this one yet, so let's watch it together.
How to see everything and be the eyes and ears of your team.
Yes, very cool.
Deploy your telescopes.
Yes, spotting and artillery have very much in common, by the way. Very much. Tank coach, dude. I really need some coaching.
We won't cover all spotting mechanics in detail in this video. We already did that in the video that will appear in the info card and description. The information there is still relevant.
Is it?
Today, we'll talk briefly about the mechanics and pay more attention to how to use them.
Let's see, this is actually a good video.
The ability that all commanders have by
Is
default.
it? Crazy.
Shows that your vehicle has been spotted. Not immediately, but 3 seconds after you've been spotted.
I didn't notice. I didn't notice.
Disappearing time after you've been spotted is 10 seconds. Signal range is the distance at which
the most
vehicle icons will
useless
be
thing in the game.
The range is
outside of like low tiers.
Allied vehicles, so signal range isn't usually a problem. But sometimes it
the most useless thing ever.
Full map information.
Would it be cool if we had bigger maps where this actually matters?
The draw circle is the radius within which you can see vehicles spotted by you or your allies. The view range circle is the radius within which you can theoretically spot enemy vehicles yourself. The maximum view range distance is 445 meters, but you're not guaranteed to spot the enemy at this range.
That's also correct. Unbelievable.
Is reduced by their concealment. We'll talk more about that in our next episode.
So the next episode is concealment. Let's go, dude.
View range higher than the maximum 445 meters.
Depends on what tank you're playing.
Enemies beyond that range, but additional view range meters will work to expose them. So, 2 tanks with view ranges of 445 and 500 meters will have the same maximum view range, 445 meters.
Actually, a good explanation.
With a view range of 500 meters will find a concealed opponent much earlier. Vegetation significantly improves concealment. The more bushes between you and your enemy, the harder it is to spot them. If you're closer than 15 meters to a bush, the vegetation in your sights will be semi-transparent, and you'll get concealment from the bush without any penalty to your view range. But if you move 15 meters away from it, you won't be able to spot anymore, but you'll probably be able to shoot risk-free.
Actually, good information. Let's be realistic. Most players still don't understand this after however many years this game has been going. Go behind the bush, wait for it to no longer be transparent, and this is why you don't use foliage transparency, so you know exactly when the bush is no longer, seeable through, so you can actually shoot. And then you have to keep one thing in mind, which I don't think they'll probably say in this video, is that there are these long pine trees, like for example on Malinovka in the forest, if you know what I mean, like these very long trees. And with those long trees, there's an issue. They are actually longer than this 15 meters that you're talking about. So there is a point at which you are not spotting through the tree, but you're able to see it. Like it became transparent. That is something you have to keep into mind, because I've seen a lot of people be confused, like, I'm looking through the tree, but I can't spot. I'm gonna move a little bit further in those very long pine trees. I think they're the only ones with this kind of problem.
Bushes only lose their masking properties after a shot within a 15-meter radius. Even the best concealment and thickest vegetation won't help at a distance closer than 50 meters.
Very true.
At that distance, you're guaranteed to spot any vehicle. And they're guaranteed
like how they have to put up
you.
certain
Players
disclaimers.
have nicknamed this mechanic the X-ray. Keep it in
chat. Well, chat. YouTube comment section. When is the last time you have called the proximity circle X-ray? Like, when have you? I thought we've all decided to call this proxy, right? Because of proximity, proxy range. I've never called this X-ray a day in my life, dude. Like, I don't really know where this comes from, but okay.
In mind, because X-ray is the only way to spot tanks behind solid cover. It's also important to know that tanks see with view range ports. All vehicles have 2 of them. To spot an enemy, You need either of your view range ports to see any of its visibility checkpoints.
This is why with heavy tanks or like anything that has enough armor, you can turn your turret to the side and spot on the gun. You are not able to shoot them. They're not able to shoot you back, but you're able to spot them because of this point. That's very relevant information. He's actually doing it as well.
So you can't spot with your hull. Keep that in mind when rolling out from behind a corner.
Actually, pretty good.
Here's one example of how
this video must be made by somebody that doesn't work for Wargaming, because so far there's way too many awkward things in it.
How you can use this knowledge. If you're not spotted and the enemy is about to go behind cover, you can wait until they're half there and then shoot. That way you won't be spotted after the shot, since their view range ports will already be behind cover.
Very true.
That's if their friends aren't around, of course.
I mean, that's again relevant information. And that is the same thing as with shooting, but you wait for them to go behind the 3 so that the 3 is covering them, spotting you, and you can shoot them unspotted. Same concept, basically, as with that rock there. So again, pretty good.
Obstacle is destructible, you'll have to destroy it to see the enemy. Makes sense, right? Remember that other vehicles or their wrecks are not an obstacle for view range. You can't.
Neither are train cards. For example, on Ensk, when you destroy a train card, the physical model will still be there, but you can spot straight through it. Mainly relevant for like maneuvers or whatever, like even onslaught. So keep that in mind. Those kind of stuff, like those objects that can be destroyed but stay there, you can still spot through them. Just like with the dead wreck here.
You can't shoot through them, but you can spot an enemy through them. You can also check a bush for enemies without even spotting them. Aim at the bush and raise the camera as high as possible. Tactical view will help. You can enable it in the game settings.
That's pretty good.
Fire and look to see
minus the part where he didn't really camo himself that well.
Watch the tracer closely. If it disappears in the bush, it's either a magic shell or it's hit an enemy tank.
That's indeed pretty good. Although I personally like to keep my camera a bit more, instead of like zoomed out like they do, a bit more towards that, because then you could see more behind the bush. Because not always can you really see if you're hitting over that bush you can, but with other bushes, if you're just like zooming out and the bush is like this and then the terrain is behind it, you will not see if it's hitting the terrain or not. So you want to move your camera a little bit more than what they're doing towards the side, so you can see behind the bush better.
Easier to spot an enemy the good old-fashioned way. To spot well, you need good view range.
Very true.
It's most important for light tanks, but can come in handy for other vehicle types too. View
Depends.
range will help medium tanks carry out scout duties when there's no light tank on the flank. Tank destroyers with good view range can spot targets for themselves more often.
Again, I mean, that's true. Sure.
View range helps heavy tanks avoid taking damage from nowhere. Keep in mind that your
where does 60TP thought they were, he wouldn't spot them from where he is either with view range, right? The circle doesn't extend that far. Either way.
View range is reduced when your observation devices are damaged.
The most useless
your crew
module.
Is stunned or your commander is injured. You have a repair kit and first aid kit.
You also won't spot them for your teammates anymore if your radio gets damaged and there's nobody else that can spot them.
To help.
Is that useful information?
You really need maximum view range.
Not really.
Who knows what your enemy might break with the next shot? How can you improve your scout capabilities? The recon,
yes,
situational awareness,
yes,
and brothers in arms
very true.
will improve view range. All three are useful and should be trained.
That's correct.
There are not only classic perks, of course, but many other interesting and useful ones too.
Communication experts is pretty good on light because quite often you'll get the assist with lowish people. But the only tank that communications expert is really very useful to have.
Experiment. Consumables. Food consumables increase view range significantly.
This is true.
Coated optics is a timeless classic that provides a big boost to view range distance. Optics should be mounted on almost any light tank as a priority. It won't hurt to equipping a medium tank.
I'm telling you, man, this is the first time ever Wargaming has hired somebody to make this video for them that plays the game. I don't know about the medium tank part with optics, depends on playstyle, but you can do it, of course.
Either. Commander's vision system is almost as important.
Very true.
First of all,
Very
it
true.
decreases the enemy's bonus to concealment from
That and
vegetation.
field mods, of
And
course.
since tanks
For
often-
light tanks, like on tier 10, field mods are also very important. You also get a little bit of view range out of that. Get a like mini boost to CVS as well. Very important.
hide in bushes, you'll have more chance of spotting them. Secondly, it decreases enemy concealment when they're on the move. It's useful against all vehicles.
This is actually a very good explanation
against light tanks.
of how CVS,
Usually,
what
they
CVS
don't have
does.
a penalty to concealment when on the move, but they do with Commander's Vision system. Improved radio set keeps the enemy you spot.
Not very useful,
It
man.
also reduces the time you remain spotted by 2 seconds.
I think this is only possible to be played, for example, on the RHM Panzerwagen. And why you ask is because the RHM Panzerwagen has a really high base view range compared to other light tanks. I think it's like 420 meters base compared to 400. Meaning that it doesn't necessarily need optics. You could take radio for those funny shenanigans. And boost the radio then, which doubles the effect, so it would be 14 seconds. Together with designated target, I think you get up to 16 seconds, with crew boost maybe like 16 and a half. I'm not sure, I'd have to double check. That's when I would say radio is funny, if you use it in the boosted slot, to combination with designated target, of course.
It can be useful, but it's not very popular. Binocular telescope is good for passive play from one
No, I would
bush.
never
It
mount
improves
this.
the view range more than
I would
coded
never
optics.
mount this on a tier
But
10
it
light.
only works when your tank is stationary.
I think that's bad
Optics
advice.
always works, making it more versatile.
Wouldn't even mention
Experienced
this.
Scouts choose optics.
Very true. Very, very true.
However, binocular telescope can complement optics. For example, on mid-tier vehicles where you can't mount Commander's Vision system.
Meh.
This way, you'll
Yeah,
become
you have to give up 2 equipments to mount both optics and binos. I would just stick with one then if you really want to do this. Like, using both for what game? Nah, I think this is bad advice. Personally, I think this is just bad advice.
even better
Wasting 2
tailored to
equipment
doing
slots?
runs from one bush to another. Finally, implementation. Your main task is to survive and spot hidden enemies for as long as they're on the battlefield. You won't help your team by spotting everyone at the start of battle, then returning to your garage. Your team won't have a scout for the rest of the battle, while the enemy team will. But don't stay too far behind either. When playing a light tank, remember that vegetation and enemy concealment always reduce your view range. To spot
This is true.
effectively, get as close as possible to enemy positions. But be
It would be cool if you could at least drive through the bushes next time instead of being next to it. But yeah.
aware of enemy scouts and proximity spotting. The key for a scout isn't meters of view range, but how you use them.
True.
The most important thing is your position. Knowing initial routes and key bushes for spotting
I
enemies
mean,
is half the
again,
battle.
this is true.
Watch how experienced tankers play and memorize their positions. The other half is your ability to switch positions at the right time. Monitor the situation in battle
Not
to
wrong.
retreat or advance when necessary. You need to stay as close to the enemy as possible, while also staying alive.
Wow, beautiful
That's it
cover
for
from the
today.
Foch.
Show this video to your friends who light the enemy up nice and bright, but not for long enough. Next time, we'll talk about concealment.
I can't wait
See
for the
you
next
soon.
video. Can't wait for the next video. Well, I mean, I think this was overall a pretty good guide, more useful than most of the Wargaming ones, with some accurate information, which is unbelievable. Anyhow, I hope you guys love the React content. I love doing React videos. If you like this video, let me know in the comments down below. I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace. Ciao, ciao.